All right, it's CJ here, and if you missed Tuesday night's Race Chat Live, you missed us talk about the Watermelon Brawl. If you missed it, all you gotta do is catch this clip and get our thoughts on the fight between Ross Chastain and Noah Gragson.
The Watermelon Brawl. And who gained fans from it? So we all know what happened on track. We all know what happened after the race. So let's go. Let's talk about it. Dale Jr. said NASCAR won today. My friends and I are still talking about it. Podcasts are literally writing themselves as we speak.
I mean, if you want my personal opinion on the Ross Chastain fight, I think it was childish and stupid, and it gives a black eye to racing. I know a lot of people love talking about stuff like that, getting involved in fights, and like I know people that tell me all the time about dirt track races. Well, I only go to the dirt track race to watch a wreck or watch a fight. I mean, that just sounds so stupid to me. I don't like seeing people beat each other up or whatever. But sometimes, I mean, you got to stand up for yourself. You got to fight back. And I think he just had enough of Ross Chastain and what he was doing, and stood up to the bully, I guess you'd say. And
my take on this is that with how NASCAR has practically started out this year, we've said it for the last number of weeks. We have bland personalities to the point that we don't really have storylines to talk about from the races, from the racing weekend. Not much really happens. I mean, there's controversial moves, and we sit here and say, yeah, this happened is what we thought about it, and then, we don't hear any, aftermath on the subject and whatnot. And last week, with the whole Ross Chastain move, we're sitting here thinking that, okay, we're starting to see one driver shine, kind of come out of the shell of this bland NASCAR era we're hitting on now. And then Gragson comes through, and he literally says in an interview, I said, somebody need to step up. Somebody had to confront him, and Gragson was the guy. And with Dale Jr. saying podcasts are writing themselves right now, with stuff like this, I mean, I see what Jared's saying, but at the same time, with how bland this season pretty much has been in terms of driver personality and some of the storylines, it was kind of like, how can podcasts, really have a podcast if you don't have much to really talk about? Look at us now. We have the last couple of weeks, we got some fists flying. We got some tempers flaring. It's stuff to talk about now. We got the drama. We are starting to see drivers come out of this bland show era we're getting now. If we can keep this up, we may see the newer generation of drivers come out, and we could see conversations like the whole Jeff Gordon deal versus Clinton Boyer, Logano versus Kenseth, crap like that.
I agree, and I was going to bring up the Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon thing. One, and I can understand to a point about the whole childish thing, but you got to remember what the first race televised, there was a race or a wreck, and they fought right there, and that kind of opened the whole world of the whole world of NASCAR. The fans like, oh my God, there they are fighting right there. So this is kind of how it all begun when it came to at least the TV viewership of it. I can remember sitting there watching Clint Boyer walk all the way down into the infield to go confront Jeff Gordon, and I can remember it seemed like it was a WWE entry walk, all the way across. I was there when was it Kansas that came behind, or not Kansas? I'm sorry, Harvick came behind, kind of pushed somebody, which caused the whole fight down in pit road. I was there for that. That was crazy. I've gotten to see with the whole media stuff. I've gotten to see a lot of things. And so that was one of the highlights of my life. And crazy side note, one of the best interviews, the best times I've ever had. As much as y'all know, I do not like Dale Jr. at all. When he won Martinsville, and I got to sit in the media center, and he finally got that grandfather clock, I tell you what, that was by far the best time in the media center I've ever had. It was a riot. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. I liked it. I like it because they did it off the track. We've watched, and I'm a Rowdy fan, we've watched Rowdy take it on the track. We watched other drivers. It seemed like Noah did it as well, and we watched Kenseth. Not that I was totally objective to what Kenseth did to Joey Logano, because I'm not a Logano fan. But there's too many factors. There's too many safety things. So I would rather see this. And it's just two grown men fighting versus them using the cars and the safety and everything else. But I like it. I like the opportunity for them. I was never a Stewart fan until he became an owner and he got to running his mouth on things and calling NASCAR out and getting in his fights. I enjoy it, and I can understand that it can be considered childish, and I'm not discrediting that, because on the flip side, it is childish, and maybe because I'm just a big kid at heart, I enjoy it. But yes, some of my greatest memories at the track, especially the media side of it, because I got to be down there. I've probably done 50, 60 races, counting all three series. I've gotten to see some awesome things, and that was, being part of that when the Harvick did that, and amongst other things I've gotten to see. But yeah, I definitely enjoy them, and like I said, the bigger factor is that the fact that they're doing it safely. A punch is much better than deliberately running somebody into a wall or causing possible death or injury. So if this is how we're going to settle the frustration, I will take that any day of the week.
That is so true. I agree with that wholeheartedly, because it's better them do it off the track than do it on the track and tear things up, make things worse, get more expensive. And Noah Gragson, he's already known for that stuff, especially from the Xfinity Series in previous years, getting involved in wrecks and fights. So it's nothing new for him.
And mind you guys, the day before this race, Tony Stewart, or a couple days before the race, whatever, Tony Stewart was on Kenny Wallace's YouTube channel, The Kenny Conversation. And he said, and I quote, "It's sad in our sport how vanilla and wimpy all these drivers are. They literally won't confront each other at the track. They'll just sit there and wait till they get home and beat on each other on Twitter where nobody has to face anybody."
He's got a point. We all sat here and thought of guys like Ross Chastain or these Kyle Bushes or that make these constant aggressive moves, and you sit here and think, is somebody going to confront them, or are we just going to have the same old story of, oh yeah, the aggressive move happened, but that was pretty much, about it. Nothing else happened. Gragson finally stepped up to the plate. He was the first one. And the funny part is, he's a rookie of the Cup Series this year. I mean, we've had veterans in the sport. Shoot, after the fight, Gragson was pulled away. Chase Elliott walked by. He goes, somebody had to do it.
Right.
Why couldn't somebody else do it before?
Right.
Exactly.
And another thing that Tony brings up is that, he grew up in a different era. And back in the day, the drivers would go to each other's coaches or whatever and confront them. And he said, and again I quote, "You handled it and you did it eye to eye. You did it face to face. You did it as men.
There you go.
And the other part too with Tony Stewart is that he brings his own flair to SRX. Look at last year, and he mentioned this in the Dale Jr. download when he was on as a guest for the podcast. I think it was last week or the week before. They talked about how Stewart's responsibilities inside the series and some of the things he's done while the season is running and whatnot. And they mentioned him confronting Ernie Francis Jr. because they asked Stewart which driver has impressed you the most in the 2 years the series has been running. And he said, Ernie Francis. He goes, I never knew the kid really until Ray Evernham brought his name up to me the first year. And I said, sure, cool, get him. And when Stewart said Ernie really impressed him and saw his driving style the first year, he was really impressed and he knew the kid was going places. And then when that South Boston race came in, and I guess according to Tony Stewart, Ernie Francis was driving like a clown essentially. And Stewart, as we all referred to him at that time, Uncle Tony, went up to Ernie and, kind of grabbed his driver's suit and shoved him around. Stewart said, like, hey, I need to confront him because he's a lot better of a driver than that. Somebody had to confront him. Otherwise, nothing was going to change. And I feel like some of these drivers need to just learn of confronting each other about certain situations. I mean, fist fights is another deal, but these drivers just need to, stand their ground. And I'm not surprised that it was Noah Gragson, of all people. And I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to figure out why in the Cup Series it's been taking this long for somebody to confront somebody of a wrongdoing. I don't know if it's because we got too many bland vanilla drivers or what, but I'm glad we're starting to see some flavor.